Hey everyone, this is Nick Walker. I am the president of Aither Technology. Welcome to the latest edition of the Aither Labs video blog. In a previous video, I demonstrated how to set up a serverless redirect with ELB and Lambda. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a slightly different use case, redirecting one URL to another URL using CloudFront and Lambda. In this case, so this is the situation that I actually came across when working for a client. We had a client who wanted to sunset a product, and they had an old login, or a login page rather, for that product that they wanted to redirect to their new server. So anybody that had it bookmarked in their browser wouldn't just end up at a blank screen or having site not found error. So in this case, we're going to simulate that. So I have two websites set up. I have an old .aitherlabs.ninja login page set up, and then I have a new aitherlabs.ninja login page set up. So we want to ensure that any requests to the old URL actually go to the new URL. Static hosted websites within S3, and they both have the simulated login pages that we're going to use. Over here in Route 53, we've got these set up. So this is how the DNS is set up. So the new is going to an S3 bucket, and I have this old aitherlabs.ninja. This is actually going to a CloudFront distribution. So in the CloudFront distribution, you can see I've got this set up here, and it's going to the old .aitherlabs.ninja, and this is what we're going to modify to accomplish our URL redirect. And so let me go and I will show you that in a second. But first, I just want to show you these two URLs so we can see that the change is actually going to happen. So let me get our old URL, and we will go over. So this is what our old URL looks like. You can see it just says old login up here. And then I'm going to bring the new one down, the new URL over here. So now you can see we've got this new URL, new login. So the goal is to take that old login and redirect it to this. All right, so now we've got these up. So the first step is to go in and create a Lambda function. So if you've watched my other video, you know that we did this with the Aither Labs -com-redirect. If you didn't watch that video, I encourage you to go and watch it. To create a new function, there's one gotcha that we need to do. So take care of. So the previous video, we created this function in the Ohio region, and Lambda at Edge functions, which is what we're going to use to attach to CloudFront, are only supported when they're written in the US East 1 North Virginia region. So we're going to switch over to that region, then create our new function, author it from scratch, give it a name, and we will do this again, the same function in Python. All right, now that I've got this new login redirect function created, I'm going to go through and we're going to just cut and paste some code I have into this. So a couple of things. So first I'm going to put in, and this is for people that have watched a previous video, there's kind of a bug or a difference, I guess, between using ELB and using CloudFront for this redirect. And paste my code. So this is the code that we used, or that I used on the previous video. And there's a couple of differences that that don't work correctly with CloudFront that do work with ELB. So you sort of need to be aware of these differences when you're creating these redirect functions. So the first difference is this parameter status code. Well, let me first talk about this. So what we're doing here is reforming a response object that basically, when the Lambda function runs, it generates a JSON object that's returned as a header, or returned as the headers for to the client browser. So we're creating a response. It's a 302, which is a redirect, and then we're passing it a location that we want it to go to. So the first issue that I found, a difference between ELB and using this for CloudFront, is that you don't send this as a status code, you send this as status. And then the second issue has to do with this headers attribute. The CloudFront distribution wants to see this not as a in the JSON structure we have there, but as a JSON array. So I'm going to change this, and I'll just paste it above here so you can see the difference. So we have headers, location, and then a key value pair of location and value. So this is actually what's getting parsed out and used by CloudFront. So I wanted to just note that for those of you that done the old video, and so that those of you that are doing this video, if you ever want to go back and use ALB, you know there is a difference there, because I did spend some time trying to figure out why this redirect function was not working in both places. Okay, now I'm going to save this, and we'll go ahead and deploy it. We're going to go over to our CloudFront distribution, and we're going to create a behavior to attach that Lambda function to. So on the behaviors tab, right now you just have a default behavior. So basically this is a generic wildcard. Any traffic that comes in is automatically going to get routed over to your origin, old.aitherlabs.ninja. And so we need to create a behavior to intercept a request inbound for login. So in order to do that, we create behavior, and then on this tab we're looking for /login. So anything that matches /login wildcard, that's going to apply to our origin. And we're going to go ahead and create this behavior, but I want to show you right here, function association. So this is where the Lambda function will get associated with this CloudFront behavior. You can do it here, but first we have to deploy our function into the Lambda at edge and attach it to this behavior. So we'll come back after we create, and I'll show you that it's actually been attached into the behavior. All right, so we have this behavior created. Now we need to go back to our Lambda function. For the configuration, under the execution role, click on the role name, and it will open up the IAM management console. And then under this particular role, we need to add a trust relationship for the Lambda edge. And so where it says service here, right now it's just lambda.amazon.aws.com. We need to edit, and then we need to add edge lambda.amazon.aws.com to the trust policy. We need to make this also an array. There we go. And we'll update policy. And so now you can see that the service has that edge lambda at amazon.aws.com included. Okay, so let's go back to our Lambda function. And I'm going to refresh this thing just to make sure that it's pulled back all of the changes in the execution rule that we just did. And now we're ready to go ahead and deploy this. So under the actions button, you'll see we have a capabilities deploy to Lambda at edge. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And so we're basically creating a CloudFront trigger. So we select the distribution we're going to use, which is this one, the only one we have created. And the behavior that we want to modify or attach to is the /login one that we just created a minute ago. So I will select that. It is an origin request, and I will confirm that we want to deploy this to Lambda at edge. So we'll go ahead and click the deploy button. And this function is now deploying. It created a version of the function and then associated a CloudFront trigger, and then it's now deploying itself so that it can be used within our CloudFront distribution. So let's go over and look at our CloudFront distribution. And here is the behavior that we created. So I'm going to select this behavior and I'm going to edit it. I'm going to scroll down, and you can see it's attached on the origin request, a Lambda at edge function, and then this is the ARN of that function we just created. So that's it. Now we've attached our Lambda function to this behavior, and now it's time to test it and see if it works. First thing, before we test it, we do need to invalidate the CloudFront distribution so that we don't have old data being served up to us. So we're going to create an invalidation. So we'll go ahead and invalidate it. and the invalidation has now completed. So let's go over to our URL that contained our old login page. And I paste in the new URL, and boom. You can see that it's taken us to the new login. It's even redirected up here, which means the 302 redirect works. And now we're good to go. So anybody that makes a request into that CloudFront URL is now going to be appropriately redirected to the new login URL. I hope you all have enjoyed this demonstration of using Lambda and Lambda at Edge and CloudFront to do a URL redirect. Look for more great video and written blog content from Aither and Aither Labs. My name is Nicholas Walker. See you next time.